Hi everyone, I'm Cait. I'm one of the HappyFabric creative experts, and today I'm going to be sharing with you a project that is perfect for summer. I'm going to be customizing a picnic blanket with Happy Fashion Foil. So let's get started. So first of all, you're going to need to gather your materials. And obviously the first thing that you're really going to need is a picnic blanket. And you can use any picnic blanket you want really. The only thing that I would recommend is to make sure you check the material that the picnic blanket is made out of before you buy it. Because we're going to be using heat to adhere the foil onto the fabric, you want to make sure that it's not made of anything too plasticky. So just make sure that you check the fabric before you buy it. The next thing you're going to need is some HappyFlex Magic Melt. This is going to act as the adhesive that actually glues the foil onto the fabric. And of course, you're going to need some Happy Fashion Foil in an array of colours. My design that I've chosen is bee themed, so I've gone for gold, black, and this lovely holographic silver rainbow colour. Once you've got your supplies, you're going to need to decide on your design. So I created my design myself in a drawing app called Procreate on my iPad. If you don't have this app yourself, or if you'd rather not create a design on your own, you can of course just use any image files that you already have. So now we've got all our materials and our designs, it's time to actually make the project. So let's get started.
So I have my design here and I've loaded it up into Cricut Design Space. One thing you need to make sure is that each part of the design that's going to be a different colour needs to be a separate cut shape. This is because we're going to apply the design in stages and do it one colour at a time. One thing it's best to bear in mind at this stage is that the picnic blanket is a very large area. So I would recommend cutting out more shapes than you think you'll need. I always think it's better to have more and not have to go back and reopen Cricut Design Space. So my picnic blanket was 80 inches square and I ended up cutting out 16 bees and 2 beehives for this project. And it ended up being just about enough. The last thing you want to do before cutting out your design is to make all of the shapes the same colour. This is because actually we're going to be cutting everything out of the Magic Melt, so we don't need to worry about cutting things out of different coloured foils. Of course, the next thing you want to do is send it off to your cutting machine. The settings that I used for this project was the vinyl setting on my Cricut. And as with any heat transfer vinyl, you're going to want to make sure you mirror the design and also cut it shiny side down. The next part of the process is, of course, the weeding. So this is removing all of the excess vinyl that you won't want on your final design. Just like all the other HappyFabric vinyl I've tried, the Magic Melt was really easy to weed, and even though you can't really see it very well on these clips, it was actually really easy to see the cut lines. This meant it was super easy to tell what parts of the vinyl I wanted to remove and what parts I wanted to keep. So now it's time, finally, for the part we've all been waiting for, which is, of course, applying the foil onto the blanket. As always, before you apply your Magic Melt, make sure to pre-press your item to get rid of any wrinkles or moisture. So this is done in a two-stage process. First of all, you need to apply the Magic Melt and then you need to apply the foil on top. I'd never actually used either of these products before, so before starting the application process, I checked on the HappyFabric website to make sure I had the right settings for my HappyPress 4. It turns out that you can apply the Magic Melt at 2 different temperatures, either at 130 degrees for 10 seconds or 150 degrees for 5 seconds. The foil, on the other hand, is pressed at 165 degrees for 10 seconds. I tried applying the Magic Melt both at 130 degrees and at 150 degrees at different stages in this project, and I didn't see any noticeable difference between the two temperatures. However, because the picnic blanket was such a large area to cover, I found it a lot easier to work in sections. So because I was switching between applying the Magic Melt and applying the foil, I found it a lot easier to press the Magic Melt at 150 degrees, because this meant that it took a lot less time for my HappyPress to heat up and cool down in between applications. One of the things I really loved about applying the Magic Melt is that you can actually see when it's stuck to the item, because it actually changes colour to become clear. So you know that if you see parts that are still kind of opaque, then you need to make sure that you press that little bit again. Magic Melt is also a hot peel, so you can peel off the carrier sheet pretty much straight away and then start laying your foil. The best thing about working with foil is that you don't need to cut it out to the exact shape. You can literally just lay a square of foil down and it will only stick to the parts that you've applied the Magic Melt to. As with any project that uses a heat press, you always want to make sure that you're adding a sheet of greaseproof paper to protect your design at every stage of the heat transfer process. I know you're going to want to peel off that foil as soon as it comes out of the press, but you're going to have to wait until this is cool to the touch. But trust me, it is definitely worth the wait. Look at how shiny it is. Now the gold foil was applied, it was time to go back in with the Magic Melt to apply the other colours. I could have done this in 3 stages, one for the gold, one for the black, and one for the silver, but I decided to speed things up a bit and do the silver and the black at the same time. If you're going to do this, just be really careful when it comes to applying the foil. Because the Magic Melt turns clear when it's applied, it makes it quite difficult to see exactly where you should be placing the foil. When I was doing this, I wasn't really sure how well the different colours were going to layer, but actually they turned out so well and I was so pleased with the end result. So the only thing left to do now was to apply the rest of the designs to the picnic blanket. And even though this was kind of a repetitive process, it was so satisfying to peel back the foil off each of the designs. I honestly think I could do it all day and just not get bored. Now the only thing left for me to do was to take my new picnic blanket outside and enjoy the sun. I was so happy with how this project turned out, especially considering the fact that I'd never used any of these materials before. But I'm really happy that I chose the Happy Fashion foil just because of how beautiful it looks sparkling in the sun.